Good afternoon, everyone. Excited to be here discussing such an important and timely topic alongside with our esteemed panel. So, few years ago, mostly cybersecurity conversation around data centers were focused on uptime, perimeter defense, and protecting applications. But today we are talking about an autonomous system, AI factories, and interconnected infrastructure. So it's fair to say the role of data center has fundamentally changed as its AI is rapidly changing the scale, complexity, and security landscape of data center. And this session is on the similar lines, how cybersecurity strategies are changing or must evolve with the time for the next generation of AI-driven data centers. And to help us unpack the challenges and opportunities, we have an excellent panel of industry leaders with us today. So before we move into the discussion, sir, I would like you to introduce yourself and tell us about your role and the work in this space.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm really excited to be part of this conference and seeing such an esteemed crowd here and also learned members, panelists in the other sessions. Very insightful discussions what we had today. So my name is Venugopal. I'm in the technology industry for the last 30 years, 3 decades nearly. And currently I'm playing the role of a CISO for a prominent NBFC in Chennai.
Thank you so much, Mr. Venugopal, sir. So my first question for you is, data centers have always been critical infrastructure, but the way AI is changing its complexity and scale, what are your views on how AI changing the cybersecurity threat landscape for the data centers?
Yeah. So I would like to use a synonym, a situation. Suppose you have a warehouse and you have a very good security guard, right? A security guard who knows every nook and corner of the warehouse. Now, what AI had done is, suppose in one day, there are 50 attackers or let's say strangers come to your warehouse, standing in each of the 50 doors, right? How much ever good that particular watchman is, he will not be able to be there in all those places. That's exactly what AI had done to us, right? He cannot be there protecting all the elements or all the attack surfaces of a data center because the key factor is the scale at which the attackers are actually having. So that is a great change in the way the threat has been happened. Now AI is also is a dual use, you know that, right? So it is used by the attackers and it is used by the defenders also. But what we have seen is the defender side of things are still based, while AI capabilities are there, the fundamental framework around it is still on the old models. So yes, the threats are changing. I would say threats are evolving, and it is getting an sort of a promotion. And in terms of the speed, agility, and in terms of opportunities, a threat can actually do on people, right? For example, we're talking about Mythos the other time. So the vulnerabilities, how fast they can able to detect the vulnerabilities which has not been uncovered by humans in the last 27 years, right? So it is actually evolved into a much higher level than a human defender or a human framework, defensive framework which has been modeled across. So that's the key difference.
So I have a follow-up question on this one. So what are your views on security architecture designed to handle AI scale east-west traffic within the data center?
Yeah. So we have been talking about east-west traffic. We've been concentrating on northwest traffic all this while till we have the major, what do you call ransomware attacks. WannaCry onwards, we started talking about it. Then we started seeing a lot of internal hackers issues are happening, right? So east-west traffic, the main one of the key element is about the lateral movement, right? The east-west traffic, lateral movements happens through east-west traffic. Let me put it that way. And one of the key defense against the east-west traffic is the micro-segmentation. Now, micro-segmentation, even though earlier we used to do the VLANs, multiple LAN networks. Now, when it comes to micro-segmentation, we are trying to shrink that particular space. So even if there is an attack happen, the attack radius or the blast radius can be minimal. Now, the problem is, even that is built on a static model. It is not an AI-enabled model, right? So we need to look into those east-west traffic architecture in such a way that how it will adapt based on the attacker's east-west movement from a behavior standpoint and adopt it. So that is a key element here. If you're not doing it, it'll be still be the old, right? I mean, while microsegmentation is also not very old, maybe for the last 2.5, 3 years it has been there, and it actually prevents a lot of attacks, especially when it comes to the impact of the attack. But it's not sufficient to prevent it completely because now AI is not using a static model. AI is also using a dynamic model. I mean, if you, for example, a ransomware or a malware code, which is part of an attack, it adapts based on the victim's environment. It doesn't go with, like earlier days, ransomware people or researchers will send one or two different types of malware into your payload and expect it to, act on it. But the problem is the moment a particular malware detects that, okay, it is able to sort of, or the C2 server is able to detect that the malware is being detected, you have hundreds of variants created in an AI model, which somehow will sneak in and then, do the damage.
So is it safe to say that micro-segmentation is the first step to start with to manage the...
Adaptive microsegmentation is the first step to start with. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's a interesting perspective there. So, as AI data centers are becoming more autonomous, so will cybersecurity increasingly for data center become a battle between offensive or defensive AI systems?
It is a battle always between offensive and defensive teams. Now, one erroneous, thinking we have is that we are always expecting AI to AI battle, but it is not really AI to AI battle. If you remember, 1997, I believe, when Kasparov had actually fought with Deep Blue, on a chess championship, Kasparov failed. That actually shocked the world. This is the first time, the world #1 champion failed to a machine. That's the time when people started realizing the machine have this kind of capabilities and all those stuff, right? Of course, otherwise it was more of a movie and all. So, but we started realizing the potential at that point of time. But from then onwards, while we feel that okay the machine or machine to machine is happening, but again behind every machine there is an augmented human, right? A human augmented AI is what we've been used. It is not really AI to AI. Human plus AI would be the game, or another human plus AI. So it's an augmented AI battle is what we are seeing it now, including the attackers who are actually enhance their AI capabilities. I just mentioned about the malware kind of situation. It adapts and then attack it. Similarly, defenders also need to be adapted and defended. But the problem today is that, as I mentioned again in the microsegmentation case, our defense architecture is more of a static. It is not an AI enabled. So while we do behavioral detection, but adaptability of it behavioral detection is not being enabled for most of the solutions. So unless we actually go into that mode, which essentially we have to depend on like agentic kind of an AI defense capability, that also have its own, false, positive and negative side of things.
So that raises another important questions about, I mean, human augmented AI factories
Correct.
and infrastructure become more interconnected. So are operators or data center operators unintentionally creating new vulnerabilities?
Absolutely. We are seeing vulnerabilities getting created. Software, let me put it this way. Now we are talking about AI factory, right? AI software development factory, where they are developing a lot of softwares, a lot of capabilities have been built, but at the same time, a lot of vulnerabilities are also being introduced. Because AI often overlook when it comes to defensive, because the priority would be always on the capability. Just like how humans were at one point, right? When we started developing, we were focusing on enabling the functionality, right? And we wanted to deliver that product immediately. And the same thing is going to happen for AI also. AI is meant for speed. Now, we can say speed is an efficient way. But in this case, speed is also a threat. From a security angle as a CISO, I see speed is also a threat for me. Now, how? Because again, with the speed, it is able to deliver good products, good, beautiful UIs, and better, efficient, and a lot of analytical capabilities, but it misses some of those security fundamentals, guardrails, coding, standardization and all. Unless you actually check the speed, or you also have the control in the line of speed, you will not be able to get a better outcome of it. So factory need to be filled with AI supervisors is essentially the response, I would say.
So with the speed at which AI is growing, so what about the security frameworks? So what about the data center security frameworks? How, how those needs to be evolved?
Yeah. Okay, now I'm from a regulated entity standpoint, and regulated entities has been, we have hundreds of framework. I mean, we have frameworks in a master level, then up sub level, and every operation and transactions there are regulations, policy, advisories. A lot of notifications come from our regulators. The problem is all these are reactive in nature. So once something happens, let's say mythos happened, then certain or RBI puts out. We have never been ahead of them, even from a regulatory or a compliance standpoint. So today's frameworks are good for yesterday's attacks, but not for today's attack. So it has to be catch up with that particular speed also. And it's always challenging. It's not something, okay, I can say here, but it's not something that can happen immediately. Because at the end of the day, attackers don't create a framework and then attack. They just attack it, and then we try to figure out, hey, there is a framework called MITRE, right? This is how they are attacking, right? We are trying to patternize the particular kind of way which they are attacking. But when it comes to defense, it's not that. We are actually waiting for them to act, and then we try to make it. So from a framework standpoint, it's always behind.
So it's always gonna be reactive.
Reactive.
Okay. So to conclude, if you have an opportunity to redesign a data center security strategy for the AI era, what would be the first thing that you would change?
Yeah, from a designing of your AI data center, it's just like what the answer to that factory. You need to have guardrail across the implicit trust factor. How much ever we talk about zero trust, when it comes to, let's say, a data center, or let's say partner or the infrastructure, we're trusting. We don't have that kind of a non-implicit trust model anywhere in our center. So how do we actually check and each and everything, starting from abstraction hardware layer to the application layer is the key here. So zero trust is one element. AI-enabled zero trust, which means look at the behavior of those particular transactions or processes which goes across these hardware to application layers, and adapt it is the key here. And of course, the other part we discuss is about the east-west traffic, not just northwest traffic, the east-west traffic, having adaptable micro-segmentation. All these are some of those practices which we will be doing. And the visibility side. So how do we get 100, the initial example we said about 50 entry points to the data center. Now, how do we keep on looking at the new entry points? See, for example, AI model itself is an attack entry point now. We're not talking about AI as a defend or offense, but AI model itself is a weak attack point. Someone can do a prompt injection and or exfiltration or hallucination and manipulate the entire thing. Earlier days, CISOs used to protect the systems. Now CISOs need to protect not only the systems but also the decision framework or the very brain which the organization is working also need to be protected.
So zero trust is what we need to
Yeah.
focus on. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Venugopal. It was nice talking to you. A huge round of applause for our panelists here. Thank you so much.